2008 Chatsworth accident was the accident that spawned the implementation of positive train control. But 2 years prior, there was an accident that was a warning of things to come. On July 1st, 2006, just before the 4th of July rush, SEPTA train 1143 was running between Warminster to Center City, Philadelphia, and eventually the airport. 1143 consisted of Silverliner 3 224, Silverliner 2 218, and married pair Silverliner 4s 453 and 454, with 36-year-old Silvano Alexander as the engineer. The engineer was on one of his first solo trips and was still rather new to the system. SEPTA engineers have to have training runs outside of schedules and supervised runs on scheduled trains before operators are allowed to run the train alone with their conductor, or conductors depending on the train size. He was on time as he made it to stations like Hatboro. Back in those days, Silverliner 4s would be attached to Silverliner 2s and 3s on occasion due to the older Silverliners lacking dynamic braking, unlike the slightly younger Silverliner 4s.
At this point, another train, SEPTA train 1134 to Warminster, consisting of all Silverliner 4s, with single unit 299, married pair 370, 371, and single unit 407, was delayed more than 10 minutes at Fern Rock Transportation Center, but was soon on its way to Warminster. The engineer, 28-year-old Micheline Dunage, was a SEPTA veteran, being with SEPTA for more than 20 years.
Train 1143 was supposed to come to a stop at Control Point Grove, just before Willow Grove Station, to allow for 1134 to pass. However, the operator at 1143 thought he had waited long enough and forced his way through the switch and onto the main line. Train 1143 picked up passengers at Willow Grove and made his way down to the city, heading straight for 1134.
As that happened, the signal just outside of Roslyn Station did something odd. It went from clear to red and back to green in a short amount of time. It didn't take her very long to realize that something was wrong. Instead of proceeding past the signal, she decided to stop the train by the signal and called in to SEPTA Desk 2 dispatch to report the issue. However, no one replied.
The conductor walks into the cab to ask about the matter. She explained the situation, and even the conductor tried contacting SEPTA Desk 2, but to no avail. Meanwhile, passengers board 1143 at various stations, unaware of the error the engineer had made, while passengers on 1134 sat and waited, wondering what was the matter. Suddenly, train 1143 came into view. The engineer of 1134 yelled, "Brace for impact," and the engineer of train 1143 slammed his brakes. The resulting impact derailed 4 cars, 2 from each train, and dented the lead cars from the force. The rest of the train cars stayed upright. Thankfully, there were no casualties. However, 38 people, including all 6 crew members, were injured. But how could an accident like this occur?
The investigation found stunning findings. The engineer of 1143 pleaded his case that the signals failed. He stated that the first signal at Grove North was approach medium, which means proceed to the next signal at medium speed, and that Grove South signal then showed approach meaning stop at the next signal.
However, it was found this wasn't true. The NTSB found the signals worked as intended, and the actual signal readings from the data recorders were that Grove North displayed approach, and then Grove South showed a stop signal. Clearly, the engineer of 1143 was lying to cover his mistake. After the accident, SEPTA fired engineer Alexander for his actions. But was he solely to blame?
SEPTA themselves came under fire for the incident, as did the FRA. The alarm on the dispatcher's computer system was used to alert the dispatcher to many abnormal system conditions. The overrun signal was only one of them. The alarm sound and the computer screen text were the same for all exceptions. None were distinguished by significance. The train dispatcher was accustomed to receiving several non-critical alarms during a shift. As a result, in this incident, he reflectively canceled the audible alarm on the overrun signal about 30 seconds after it sounded. Nearly 4 minutes and 20 seconds elapsed between the time when the alarm initially sounded and the collision occurred. Had the train dispatcher recognized the importance of the overrun signal alarm, he would have time to call and warn the southbound train and the northbound train of the pending collision.
That's without mentioning the main dispatcher at the time was on a smoke break and didn't return until after the collision had occurred. In the end, the accident caused the Warminster line to be out of commission for the whole 4th of July weekend, but was back up and running soon after. The damaged cars were repaired and put back into service. Sadly, 224 was scrapped after retirement in 2010. Engineer Michelin was hailed as a hero of the Roslyn collision, since she knew the weird signal behavior indicated something was wrong down the track, and her decision to stop at the signal outside of Roslyn rather than press on prevented serious injury and death, not to mention reduced the severity of the accident by 80%. The Grove South switch had to be completely replaced due to it being jammed after the engineer of 1143 forced his way through it, breaking the mechanism. Following this, the idea of positive train control was born, and SEPTA began a system-wide project upgrading their signal system and replacing the signals on their X-routing lines to prepare for positive train control. SEPTA then became one of the very first commuter railroads in the United States to be certified for 100% PTC-ready status by May 2017. Sadly, it would only take after the Chatsworth collision in 2008 that killed 25 before other railroads would realize the danger, and the Frankfurt Junction wreck that killed 8 in 2015 would be a red flag on the lack of progress some railroads had made in PTC implementation.
It's a shame how minor accidents are overlooked and people don't care about improving safety until lives are lost.
It's been 13 years since the accident, and while the accident is a bit of an obscure, forgotten tale, it was thanks to this accident that the very first baby steps to a safer rail system was made.